What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and some bizarro world things seem to be happening with the Eternals and the Rotten Tomatoes website. Now, I think everyone kind of rolls their eyes when they think about credibility in Rotten Tomatoes. In particular, it's usually the critics, which until the Eternals, you could pretty safely say that they review movies based on ideology and not whether or not a movie is actually good. Now, I'm sure there are good movie critics in there, but there just seems to be way too many, like, stunning and brave, best movie and in history, first time woman's ever done anything ever, 10 out of 10. There's too many of those reviews to really take critic reviews too seriously. And I do think the critics were extra harsh on this movie, and I'm not exactly sure why. I've always said the movie is, average, middle of the road Marvel film, which puts it in the fine for 2 hours, but ultimately forgettable category. But something suspicious is going on here, my lords and ladies. Oh, you're not a lord or a lady? Check this out. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Established Titles. Now, this may be the most interesting sponsorship I've had yet. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords and ladies. The Established Title Pack gives you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Scotland and an official certificate with a crest. It looks absolutely sick. Lord Jeremy from The Quartering, my official proclamation. Also, remember that they have a charity partner, Trees for the Future and One Tree Planted. They plant a tree for every single order, which is absolutely awesome. So you can get this sweet gift for someone or yourself. You can get a certificate proving your title, as well as a unique plot number with which you can see the exact location of your land. Established Titles might be one of the best last-minute gifts ever. You could get even a couple pack for you and your partner, where you get adjoining plots of land. Getting this certificate also helps you officially change your name to Lord or Lady and get it on a credit card or some other, whatever else you want, apparently. For those with Scottish heritage, it's also a great way to connect with family. Established Titles is having a great limited time sale, so go to establishedtitles.com/thequartering to save 10% off today. And remember to use the discount code thequartering, or just click the link below. That's establishedtitles.com/thequartering. Great gift idea, fun little thing. Get a nice plaque to put on around your house or on your walls, and support the channel. And plant a tree. Eternals now seeing possible $70+ million opening worldwide. Why this is a wake-up call for the MCU. It's interesting to me to watch the various press cover this box office, because you read this and it's like, oh my God, this is a wake-up call. And then, the Hollywood Reporter, box office Eternals struggles to Marvel audiences. Box office Eternals soaring to $69.5 million. Wait, what? So the Hollywood Reporter and Deadline say that this is bad at 70 million, but Variety says it's soaring to 70 million. Which is it? We know it needs to make 400 million just to break even, so word of mouth is going to be everything for this film. If it craters in the second weekend, it's going to lose a lot of money. It's a long way from home right now. You can see Saturday AM update. Disney's Marvel's Eternals, as of this minute, is still looking to come in at 70+ million for the weekend, but the feature could buckle and land in the high 60 million range if it doesn't have a solid Saturday night. For a glossy superstar ensemble with Angelina Jolie, Kit Harington, Salma Hayek, Gemma Chan, and about superhero gods, it's not the type of opening we'd come to expect from the MCU. Despite Disney has confidence that the pick will deliver between 70 and 75 million. Friday is right where we saw it yesterday with 30.7. True, among Disney-released Marvel titles, Ant-Man ranks as the lowest with 57 million, and it's possible that the Eternals is 5 million shy of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, 75 million, 3-day total. However, the latter was boosted by a 4-day holiday weekend. Now, before this sector of Wall Street media writes about the cinema's obituary or tries to blame the coof, let's provide a wake-up call. It's not a shocker here to see the numbers so low on Eternals. and it boils down to the film itself and not the current state of moviegoing. And you can't blame Disney in any way, shape, or form for not selling Eternals, as their marketing machine was in great shape. Oscar winner Chloe Zhao delivered a very Byzantine, confusing movie with 10 protagonists that's part of the deeper Universe Marvel IP. In that addition to being one of the longer origin stories, it's the worst reviewed MCU movie of all time, 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, and was panned by moviegoers in the Disney MCU with a B cinema score and lackluster ComScore Screen Engine post-track exit of 77% and 3.5 stars. Yes, for those being technical, Universal's 2003 title Hulk was executive produced by Kevin Feige, is the worst Marvel movie ever with a B-. Personally, after seeing Eternals, I couldn't tell you what it's about. They lure you in thinking the characters is a villain, then they're not. Then at the end, the payoff isn't as seamless as learning who was Kaiser Soze at the end of The Usual Suspects. That was a great movie, by the way. Probably worth rewatching. But it sounds like there's a package here. My alarm system's going off upstairs. German Shepherd alarm system. The thing is, when we look at the actual scores, I think that the critics probably too harsh on the film. 49 seems really low. 48 now, geez. Continues to drop. It feels like people are piling on. But for a very long time, the audience score was just hanging out. Just hanging out at 86%. Just like Rise of Skywalker. What's the bet? It'll be locked at 86 for the entire time. Do you remember Rise of Skywalker stayed at 86% like constantly for as tens of thousands and 20,000, 30,000 reviews poured in? It never moved from 86%, which to me told me this is what they were doing algorithmically. They were saying, okay, there's a million reviews in queue, 100,000 reviews in queue. Let's take them in blocks of 10,000 that keep this score the same. So they're just update the score, stays at 86. Update the score, stays at 86. This is clear. If you look at, Rotten Tomatoes and Fandango's websites, absolutely plastered with advertising for advertising for the Eternals. Disney spends enormous amounts of money advertising on these websites, and in turn, they provide favorable cover. We saw this with Captain Marvel. We saw this with Rise of Skywalker, and we saw this with The Last Jedi. To only have 2,000 verified reviews right now is insanely low. But what is interesting is this was locked at 86% for a very long time, and its latest update, it crept to 84. What I think is happening, and you let me know what you think they're doing here. I think Rotten Tomatoes, the first people that review the movie are probably super fans. But also, I think that people, what was almost like it feels like it could be coordinated, like, hey, lower everybody's expectations here. So when you see the critic score at 48%, you're like, God, this movie's got to be a train wreck. And then you go in it, and it's fine. I haven't given an official review on the Eternals yet, but it's fine. It's too long, and I don't care about the characters, but it's fine. If you care about the characters, then you'll probably think it's at least okay, which means that, and as I've always said, the audience score will probably be in the mid-70s. And when they finally let these reviews through, that's where I predict it will be. I don't think this movie's going to be a 50% from the viewers. But what's interesting is I think people are looking at this, and then they're artificially rating. It's leading to higher audience scores. If you look at like IMDb and things like that, it's much lower. But I do think if you look at it, if we look at IMDb, I don't know how trustworthy it is. It seems like, it seems okay. I mean, they have a 6.8 out of 10 with 30,000 reviews. I suppose that's, IMDb tends to skew a little lower. They don't do as much massaging of the numbers. And I think that that's probably a fair, I think it's on the low side. I think the movie's probably, for me, the movie's a 6 out of 10. But I could see it being a 7 or an 8. I understand that my kind of coverage of Marvel movies is skewed a little bit. In that I let the whole picture kind of, bring. I look at the whole picture, Disney and the Uyghurs and all this stuff, and it kind of taints it a little bit going in. I am aware of that. I think Eternals is not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's probably one of the worst Marvel movies I've ever seen. It doesn't even feel like a Marvel movie. It's pretty forgettable, but it's fine. You know what I mean? It's interesting, Eternal struggles to Marvel audiences. The tentpole has received the lowest audience grade of any title in the MCU, meaning there are people that sit with iPads outside of movie theaters and they ask people, what they thought of the movie. And, a lot of people go in, and I've been hearing a lot of, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And that's like copium, I think, a little bit, but also it's kind of a bummer that you still gave Disney $15 for that outcome. I think that people would be far more satisfied with their money invested if they watched this on Disney Plus, or if they watched it on somebody else's account or some other way to not give them money. But it's faring good overseas. It's grossed $38.4 million in its first 3 days, a global total of $70 million. They could have $100 million in the opening weekend, but what I think is that I don't think this movie's going to have legs. I think that it's going to be, word of mouth is not going to do it very well, and I think we're going to see a huge drop in the second weekend. You see, Eternals is similar to the cinema score grade. Eternals presently has the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score, 49% of any MCU offering. So the people that they're interviewing walking out of the theater are saying it's the worst movie in Marvel history. The bar is pretty high for good Marvel movies, I suppose, and it's probably still a fine popcorn film, but leave it to Rotten Tomatoes to run defense for them. Never trust that site. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.